Bismillah. Let's begin with module 4. Oh, sorry, is it 4 or 5? 4. Okay, so once again, you want to grab the slides. This is where you will find the slides. So not everything is uploaded here, but by the time you're watching the video and so on and so forth, everything should be there. Okay, so in this module, it's a long module. So we will be covering a whole bunch of different things. And in terms of when we upload the videos, we are breaking it down. Even one module is broken down into small parts. So you would see the titles as 3A, 3B, so on and so forth, 4A, 4B, and so on and so forth. So every module is broken down into small parts when we upload the videos. So first thing, how do you find new Muslims? So someone asked about setting up a team. So part of setting up a team is for you to find new Muslims. But before you do that, let's clarify, what do you mean by new Muslim? And I think that was asked, last time. So again, it doesn't matter how you define new Muslim, right? Because, it's not something that you're being graded on. It's up to you. You're defining who you want to serve or not. Okay. So some people may have converted like 6 months ago or 1 month ago, and they know more than an average person in the masjid. There are people who have converted like 3 years ago. They still don't know Surah Al-Fatiha. So what is a new Muslim for you? Okay. For me, for my team, for my definition, is someone who doesn't know how to pray, someone who does not pray. Okay. So that's essentially my thing. Okay. So if the person doesn't know how to pray and is not praying, that person is really, in our forte. We have to help them, okay, as part of our mandate. Even if someone knows how to pray and is not praying, I would still say that, that person is part of our thing. And we know many people, right? So if we go with that definition, then we find many youth, okay? SubhanAllah, someone just gave me a contact yesterday about a person who has been raised as a Muslim. He's like, really, I don't know, 40 or 50 now, and now he actually wants to get back into the deen. He doesn't know how to pray. He hasn't been praying. So we will inshallah reach out and help them out. Sometimes we find young people, they go through a lot of different things. They start thinking about life. It kicks in. They start finding the bigger purpose, and they come back to the masjid. You see a new face in the masjid. Even if he looks like from a Muslim background, ethnicity wise, you see a new face. You can have a same sort of relationship with them. Okay, so now we want to talk about how would you find them. So here it is. Look, so keep an eye for non-practicing Muslims in your own network, in your own family. One of the things is just let them know, hey, you know what? I volunteer with this organization. We know a lot of new Muslims who are taking Shahada, as well as born Muslim who haven't been practicing. So we want to provide them with an environment for them to practice and so on and so forth. And we pair them up with a mentor. So you may be surprised, and we have seen this in our team. Many of your friends or family members may say, you know what, actually, this is something I can take advantage of. So you can become their coach, or if you think it's awkward, you can pair them up with someone else. Okay. Again, you see a new face in the masjid, you see people in your network who are now confused about all this stuff happening in the world, or someone dying in the family, or they themselves getting sick, and they now are thinking beyond, the glitter of this world. Those are, again, great people to start with. Okay, revert matter, just we talked about earlier. Another thing I would like to mention is meetup.com. So it's meetup.com today. It could be something else tomorrow, or maybe it's already something else. And I'm just, so for example, if I ask you, hey, you know what, I want to buy a used bicycle or a used car, where should I go? Right? Most of you would say Kijiji or Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. So similarly, there may be platforms like meetup.com where people advertise different types of events, from spirituality to conferences to business to tech to just fun and so on and so forth. So if these type of environment, these type of platforms exist, and you want to attract people, you can advertise a spirituality event, a faith-based event, and people who are looking for faith or Islam or so on and so forth, or even new Muslim event, they go there. So make sure if you're having a revert friendly event or new beginners events, you advertise it there so you can capture that audience from there, inshallah. Or as I said, meetup.com is something I know. Maybe there are 10 other places, or maybe meetup.com is obsolete now. And maybe there's something else that has come up by the time you're watching the video. So, make sure that you find the right thing and you utilize it. Okay, so next thing we'll talk about is making your introduction. So now you know how to find the new Muslim, right? So someone gave you a contact, or you saw someone taking a Shahada and so on and so forth. How do you take it from there? So basically, what you want to do is, again, you want to introduce yourself. Say, hey, you know what? I'm part of the New Muslim Newcomer Success Team. We have several years of experience as a team, and so much, and so on, so on and so forth. And I'd like to have a chat about you and your journey that you're beginning as a new Muslim. Or so do you have time right now? Okay, or can we arrange a meeting some other time? So ask questions. When can we meet? Does Friday work for you? Does next week work for you? If they say, oh, I'm busy, I understand. I know it's a very busy, people get busy. So you need to now remind them, look, it's a very important thing. Okay, it may not seem like urgent, but it's a really important part of your life. So let's try to make some time, and let's get on a call, or let's meet up, and then we can discuss next steps and so on and so forth. Okay, once that happens, you want to basically obviously start with building rapport, understand, introduce yourself, who you are, what do you do, your career or your work or your education, your hobbies or interests, and so on and so forth. Get them to know them. Now, if you see the last question that I have there is basically most of the discussion, one of the key principles of discussion is that you should not be just preaching them. Okay, what I'm doing right now is preaching. I'm just giving you information. Okay, because just like I found that to be the way to work because of the recording, as well as looking at the conversation last time. But when you are actually delivering it, or you are having a discussion, you want to ask them to see what's in their mind, what they are taking away from this conversation. So you're actually having a dialogue, a discussion, not just like a one-way communication. Okay, so you want to ask them about what do they know about Islam. And this is something that I mentioned, that look, what may happen is, depending on how they came to Islam, some people just come to Islam because they just found it, they may not understand. And I think someone just mentioned that earlier, right? Where should you start? So this is the key thing. First of all, they need to understand what is Islam. Okay, some people just think of it as like a philosophy, or as a way to life. If you do it, it's good. They don't really understand the consequences of not following Islam, or how comprehensive Islam is, or what does Islam mean, or what is the Islamic worldview. So you first want to get a feeling of what do they know. Okay, so some people would say, you know what, it's nice, I like the brothers, my friends are Muslims, and it doesn't have racism. I've heard all sorts of different things. Okay, so rarely have I actually found someone who really understood what's next. Okay, so that's why you want to understand where they are, and you want to reset and re-clarify and make sure that they understand the true picture of Islam. Now, this is something that I highly recommend the du'ats, people who are inviting to Islam, people who are taking the shahada, and so on and so forth. Look, it's, brothers and sisters, it's really your job, because you are the first responder, you're the first corresponder. If the person takes shahada and then you move on, you may have not given them the proper information. Okay, sometimes I know that people give the proper information, and then the convert just doesn't remember. That's fine, but the question is, are we doing our job or not, right? So it's very important for you to be able to, first of all, be able to explain Islam. And when it comes to explaining Islam, guys, this is different than debating about Islam. Okay, even the people who have gone through Dawah training, I ask them, okay, you know what? I'm listening to you. Tell me about Islam. Okay, and guess what people would do? Brother, this phone has a creator, so we all have a creator, and the phone doesn't have a manual, and the owner knows the manual, the designer knows the manual, and so on and so forth. Okay, fine, that's a great analogy. Then what? Then they would say, okay, brother, think about it. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? All the proofs and evidences, okay. So they're focusing more on the logic, they're focusing more on the evidences. They still haven't given me the story of Islam, the message of Islam, the Islamic worldview. Okay, and that's a very sad part, because they've only been trained in debate and logic and argument. That's good, but okay, what's the message? What are you trying to convince me of, right? What is your story? What is your worldview? What is your way of living? So that's very important for us to understand. So we'll give you some suggestions on that. So we want to explain these things. What is this world like? Okay, why are we here? Who is Allah? What is the path to paradise? And does it require any effort? Or does it only require me taking the shahada? Okay, If I say I'm a spiritual person, if I say I love Allah, if I say I believe in Allah, either I'm doing a lip service or I'm being sincere about it. If I'm sincere about it, then I must be obeying Allah. I can't say, oh, I love Allah, but when it comes to, I don't want to obey Allah, right? So those things don't go hand in hand. Okay. And obviously we want to explain it to them that, look, we understand that it will be gradual and we are not enforcing anything to you. It's your choice. So my question is, if you are doing Dawah, or if you're in a Dawah training and you're walking out with a Dawah training, but you're not focusing on these 5 points, okay, then are you really conveying the message of Islam or not? Something for you to think about. So here are some ways that we can do that. So I'm going to just rush through it. Obviously, you have this information in the slides that you can look at later on, inshallah. Okay, so here. So I want to explain to the people that, look, this world is not like a resort. Okay, it's not like a place that God has taken care of everything. There should not be any pain. There should be no evil. There should be no discomfort. And when people ask this question, they're coming from this mindset or this worldview, right? So for example, if you invite someone at your home, okay, when they come to your home, they expect to be comfortable. They don't expect that it's going to be really cold or really hot, and they expect that you serve them water or tea or even some food and so on and so forth, because you've invited them to a dinner or lunch or tea or what have you. Okay, but if you invite them to, basically like a gym, right? Or you invite them to a boot camp or to a workout. Now the goal is that, hey, you know what? I want you to be physically stronger, okay? Or you invite them to a college. You know what? Let's go to a college. Let's go to a course. So you expect them to be mentally challenged at a course, or you expect them to be physically challenged at a gym, right? Because now it's not about comfort. So the expectation from the host is going to be different if you're inviting them to a resort, or to an educational course, which is going to be intensive course, or to a workout place. So this is something that we want people to understand, that this world is a training and development as well as a testing ground. So we learn, we train, and we are tested. So we continuously learn and are being tested. So if that is the case, then anything that happens, whether it's comfort or discomfort, pain or happiness, is all a test. And this is the key lesson for us to learn. Now, if you want to go back to the Islamic text, it's very important for us to tell them the story of Adam alayhi salam. And this is really beautiful, okay? So when you walk them through it, now they understand that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has a creation, okay? And he has created men. And this question of evil that people say, oh, why create man? Because there's so much evil. Well, God already addressed this to the angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already told them that, look, you're only focusing on this negative, okay? Well, now the wisdom, we know that from these human beings are people who sacrifice their life for the sake of Allah, people who give their wealth for the sake of Allah, people who give their time for the sake of Allah, people who give their sleep to wake up and to pray to Allah, people who give up their hunger so they can fast for the sake of Allah. And yes, there are people who are evil. Okay, now this is a very beautiful thing, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created such an interesting being that it has free will. It has the choice to do whatever it wills, but the choice of human being can never surpass the choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is really beautiful and really shows the power and the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, let me give you one example. This is very relevant for people who understand how COVID works. Why do we have a lockdown? Okay, the reason we have a lockdown is because, so that is reducing our free will, or this is reducing our ability, because the government or the medical system is not able to take care of COVID, right? Because if we now start mingling, they're like, okay, the cases are going to go up. We don't have the resources to control COVID and to provide treatment and so on and so forth. So that's why they're limiting the free will. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the free will, but at the same time, Allah is in charge. So I cannot do with my free will anything that Allah does not want to happen. And that's a very beautiful thing. So let me give a quick example of that. So there are people, for example, may Allah protect us all. There are people who basically go out on a mass shooting, right? They start shooting everybody. So people did that at masjid or in other places or in schools. Now, if you think about it statistically, everyone is relatively equal chances of being dead. But Allah has precise control on who will be safe from those bullets and who will not be. So the person is responsible for his action, right? So person, even if someone intended and took the gun and start firing, now he's responsible for the action. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has full control on the results. If Allah wants someone at an individual level to be prevented, they will not, be shot, or they will not die. And same thing happens with car accidents and so on and so forth. Okay, so anyway, so that's, a lot of lessons can be learned from the story of Adam alayhi salam. The wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our knowledge is limited, and how the angels submitted and trusted Allah's decision. Okay, then it continued, and then it comes to the point of knowledge, right? Something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distinguished Adam alayhi salam from. Okay, now there was a test, right? So there was, now you can explain the three types of creation: angels, human beings, and basically Satan. Okay, so I think these things are very important for a new Muslim to know. That look, Satan is your enemy. Okay, he is the one who's arrogant. He is the one who did not obey Allah. He used his own logic. He did not want to obey Allah because of his own logic. Okay, and as you can see here, how he made a rational argument. Anybody can make a rational argument. Is it right or wrong? The main thing is, are you obeying the one who created you, the one who gave you everything, or are you just going to use your logic to disobey him? Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put Adam alayhi salam and his wife in a paradise. Okay, now this paradise is like what we talked about earlier, right? There's no discomfort, there's no pain, except Allah made one condition, okay, to test their obedience. And Allah said that don't go near the tree. Now, Satan, he basically whispered to them the false promises and so on and so forth. Now, just like he did that to them, he also does it to me and you. He was, oh, you know what? So now Allah has made everything halal. Only a few things are haram, right? The whole day is yours. All you have to do is take 50 minutes or 1 hour in the day to pray 5 times a day. You can eat everything except a few things. You can drink anything except a few things. Now, shaitan takes your attention from things that are allowed to things that are prohibited, and makes them desirable to you, just like what he did to our father and mother Adam and Hawa alayhi salam. So that's a very important concept for us to explain to new Muslim. Now something important happened. So they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but what they did then is they basically changed, right? I mean, they asked for forgiveness. Okay, and that's one of the things to remember, that look, we also make mistakes, but instead of us arguing like Satan argued, oh, you know what, I shouldn't have done this, I should have done that, and I did this because of this and whatever, right? They realized it was their mistake. They didn't say, oh, why did you create the tree? Why don't you lock up the tree? So on and so forth. No, they realized it was wrong. We should not have done that. You gave us the free will. We used it in the wrong way. Forgive us. Okay, so that's the key thing. Now, this is the reason we are here. Okay, so if you want to, this is the reason we are here, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us direction and resources. Allah has given us hands, earrings, hearing, ears, eyes, body, focus, time, wealth, money, energy. Now, either we can use it in obeying Allah or disobey Allah. If we obey Allah, if we decide to obey Allah, that is Islam. Okay, Islam is to submit, to have that intention, if you want to simplify it for a non-Muslim, so that I will use my life and live within the boundary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, that's also something that people would be like, oh, so I don't have any room for individuality. No, you do. So you have a boundary. You don't transgress this boundary. Within that boundary, you can be whoever you want. You can be a businessman. You can be a homemaker. You can be a father. You can be a mother. You can be a engineer. You can be a scientist. You can be a teacher. Fine. You can do your life whatever you want, but within that boundary. Okay, so after that, look, we have to, we go through this grave period, right? So we are dying and we are in the grave. Now, it's going to be either a business class flight, amazing grave, or it's going to be really miserable. And then we will reach to our final destination, paradise, or may Allah protect us, hellfire. Excuse me. So now people who say, okay, look, I love Allah. So here's a very important thing to remember. Well, if you love Allah, then you obey Allah. Okay, the more you obey Allah, the more you closer you get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah loves you, and so on and so forth. So this is a very important hadith to discuss with them. Okay, so now this is essentially what we want them to walk away with. What is this world like? Is this a banquet and a party by God, and there should be no pain? People who view this world, they're like, okay, why is there pain? Why is so many things wrong with me, and so on and so forth? Or as some people think that, look, you know what? Just deal with it, man. If you have wealth, enjoy it. If you don't have it, get it, do whatever you want. This is one life and this is all you've got. Once you die, it's all over. Or, as we're explaining, it's a temporary place. It's not going to last forever. Even if you're rich, it's not going to last forever. Even if you're poor, it's not going to last forever. Healthy, not last going to forever. Sick, it's not going to last forever. So it's a temporary place, training, testing, and you will have some recompense in this world and full recompense later on once you die. Okay, so I would recommend that, after the course, as you finish this module, think about it, practice. This is very important for you to practice. Ideally, find a partner that you can practice with so that you are comfortable. So what have we done so far is we have talked about finding new Muslims. We have talked about how you want to make sure that they understand the concept of Islam, and you basically want to introduce the concept of Islam. And again, don't make it a one-way dialogue. I've done it as a one-way dialogue, but you want to be comfortable with the message, and you want them to be able to understand that message. It's going to be a dialogue. You're going to use a lot of questions to say, hey, what do you think this world is like? Use the examples that we did. Okay, so now they have understood. What should they have understood? That look, I'm here, I'm being trained, and I'm also being tested. Okay, how do I know I passed the test? If I worship, if I do things according to Allah, if I live within the boundaries of Allah. What do I do? If I fail, I basically ask God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for forgiveness, and I try better next time. Okay, so now you're having a discussion with them. You said, look, okay, let me ask you a question. Okay, if someone wants to transform themselves physically, they want to eat healthy, they want to get fit, they want to increase the energy, they want to be increase their performance and their resilience, or someone basically trying to become more spiritual. Okay, and then or someone trying to change their business or career. Okay, or they want to enhance their business, they want to enhance their career, whatnot. So if person has such goals, okay, so something really very important to understand, and this is something that comes in a book called Atomic Habits, and we'll talk about it in a little bit later. It's a very important point that look, goals are not the key things. People who achieve their goals, as well as people who do not achieve their goals, have the same goals. What really matters is the process, is the system that you will use to achieve those goals. That's the key thing. So what are some of the things, some of the techniques that a person who is trying to change himself physically or grow his business or career can do? Ask them, what are some of the things? So let's say, a success, one person may say, okay, you know what? I want to make 10 times more than what I'm making right now. Or I want to, reduce my body fat by 10%. What's the difference between someone who's going to achieve it and someone who's not going to achieve it? What are some of the key characteristics of people who achieve their goals? Ask them. What do you guys think? Why don't you tell me some of the things that people can do to achieve their goals? Okay, good. Measurable, work hard, plan. Okay, good. And as you ask them these things, they would also come up with the same thing. Now we want to use the same thing for our main goal. Our main goal is to make it to paradise. Okay, so so when they give you these things, you want to, so this is now you've gotten them to think. Okay, now, so what we are saying is, okay, we want to start with focusing on the spiritual. And this is also very important because a lot of people shy away from spirituality or that, look, our relationship is mainly on the religion, right? So they'll be like, oh, Brother Zubair, I find it hard to talk about Salah. Well, did you not set up a relationship properly? If you are their mentor in a gym, would you be shy to ask them that, hey, you know what? Did you eat ice cream last week? Did you do your 10 push-ups? Did you run 5 kilometers? Would you be shy to ask those questions? Would that be considered being pushy? Right? It just depends on how you've created that relationship. So you want to make sure that, look, this relationship is mainly about a spirituality. Okay? Just like this phone, okay? If I charged it this morning, it would still require charge tonight. The charge goes up and down. I cannot say, okay, I have faith. Just like the charge goes up and down, so does faith. Okay, and we want to keep our faith charged. So that's what we want to make sure. So our main thing is to make sure that we are recharging ourselves and we don't lose the charge of faith. Okay, so with that understanding, here is what we're going to do. So we have 4 components to their spiritual success. or you can call them 4 components to our convert coaching. So first one is we want to focus on motivation, or you can think of as the why. So, some of the examples you guys also gave. So for anybody who wants to be successful, it's important for them. One of the key things they can do is change the environment. If you want to be fit or energetic, hang out with people who have the same goal, because they will make sure that when you are spending time with them, they're going to gym, you'll go with the gym with them, right? They're not cheating on their food. You will not cheat on their food. You'll be motivated because of just being in their company. Okay, now second thing, now this is something obviously you don't have it in the non-Muslim space, is it's a very important thing, is to ask Allah. Okay, asking Allah can make things easy for you. You find it hard to practice Islam, you find it hard to wake up, you find it hard to leave some of the bad habits. One of the key things that you can do is ask Allah. Okay, ask Allah to help you. Now, the third thing that you can do is to watch motivational content. Now, all these things that I'm saying, it also applies in business and physical space as well, okay? So you want to watch and read beneficial content. So we will do it as a coach and mentor, as me mentoring you as a new Muslim. And we'll also assign you some homework for you to read. So even when we are not meeting, you should be having some sort of reading or watching on things that you can reflect so that it will become motivational content for you. Excuse me. So one of the things that you can do is to remind them that, look, most of the people in your life, they don't talk about God. So you want to make sure that you're getting content that will talk about God, hereafter, Allah, who is Allah, names and attributes of Allah, the rules of Allah, and so on and so forth. Other ways of you getting motivation is coming to Islamic events, classes, conferences, and so on and so forth. So these are just ideas. We'll talk about, what you want to commit to. So this is going to be a very important thing. So people were asking me, what is most important? This is most important, because if they don't have the motivation, you teaching them salah, and they would not have the motivation to remember what breaks their wudu. How do they perform wudu? How do they pray? Because, this is you building iman. Okay, even if you want to think of it from an Islamic perspective, the narration from Aisha radiallahu anha, the first chapters that were revealed were about iman. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built their iman first. It was more about Allah, akhirah, reward, sustenance, worship, and then the ahkam came in. Okay, so obviously we're not saying that we're going to give them salah after 10 years or 5 years. What I'm saying is that this should be your primary component. This should be your main thing. Okay, now the second component, now you are explaining this process or this approach to them, that look, we want to focus on your motivation, the why, and then we also want to focus on the how, right? So for example, if you want to achieve great physical performance or business, you want to have the right strategy as well. You want to learn from people who have done it. So when it comes to worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, living in the boundaries of Allah, we also have to learn. Okay, just like any other sport, like, for example, it's not just for you to do 10 push-ups, you also want to do the right push-ups as well. So this part, we'll learn the boundaries of Allah, like how do we pray, how, when do we pray, and all those details. Okay, obviously you want to clarify that, look, you can talk to Allah as often as you like and anytime, right? And that's this concept of divine assistance, asking for divine assistance. That's what people know as prayer. Okay, but we also have ritual prayers, which are the 5 daily prayers, and these are the pillar of Islam. And we want to, and maybe you can introduce them to the term salah. So that's different. So these are like your official one-on-one meetings with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and prayers are just general. You can do it anytime. Okay, and then the third component would be, as you said, like, people had like plan, start small, have a goal, be able to measure. So we want you to have some specific goals. Okay, these goals could be that, number of prayers a day. Why am I saying number of prayers a day? Well, let's be realistic. We want you to pray 5 prayers a day. Okay, but 1 is better than 0, and 2 is better than 1, and 3 is better than 2. Okay, so if you decide that, I'm going to pray 1 prayer a day, that's your choice, right? Because I cannot dictate how many prayers you should pray. I want you to pray 5 prayers a day because Allah wants you to pray 5 prayers a day. But if you're not going to do that and you want to start with something small, that's your choice. Let's have that sort of commitment. Okay, what's your goal for reading? Can you spend 10 minutes to read or watch Islamic content, or 5 minutes, or half an hour in a week? Would you be able to have some sort of time to practice? So you want to understand what sort of time commitment they're putting in. If they say, oh, I'm busy, so you can understand that many people, they're only giving half an hour to Islam, and that is between you and them when you have that meeting. So have an understanding of what's going on. Okay, then we will also follow up and have a review plan. Okay, we may have a weekly meeting or a weekly video call. We may use a habit share app, or we may use WhatsApp, and so on and so forth. Okay, and same thing, these commitments you can also use for other habits, right? I mean, I do encourage them to have a habit of, let's say, going and working out every other day, or walking, or so on and so forth. Okay, now the fourth component of that is we would take a look at your habits and your commitment, and then see what you achieved and what you did not achieve. How we can change those habits. Maybe it's time for us to increase something or decrease something, or figure out why you are not doing what you are saying you are. And then we are going to use some techniques to increase your commitment, or to increase your productivity, to increase your results. I highly recommend people to take a look at this book, Atomic Habits. Okay, so here are links. Best thing, get the whole book, read it, understand it, apply it in your life, and use it with the new Muslim, share it with the new Muslim. If you can't do that, at least start with a text summary or a video summary. And then later on at the author's website, he has actually given some templates to start, like your habit scorecard, and to start some habits, and so on and so forth. So using these things are really important. I really, really, really found it beneficial. Okay, so to invest time in this, invest time in your own personal development, so you can also develop other people. Okay, so make sure that you practice after you've watched the video, after you've done the module. Find a partner and practice this thing. Have a discussion around the 4 components and a plan. Okay, so let's continue. I know we're going a bit over time, so if you have to leave, that's fine. I do want to finish this module, so it may require another 15 minutes or so. Okay, so when it comes to sharing resources, so these are some of the resources that you want to share with the new Muslim. Okay, so we use Muslim Pro for Salah times, Dua, Quran translation. We, in terms of motivational content, we do try to subscribe them when they're with us to One Path Network, Talk Islam, MuslimMastery, Kalima, IslamWise. There may be other things. We want to get them to know how to use prayer apps. We try to get them to sign up on New Muslim Academy, make an account there, as well as follow their social media. And we might have a follow-up plan on when we are going to meet next, and how would we meet, like would we meet in person or chat or call, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to show you something to make this more concrete. Okay, so later on I'm going to show you basically our new Muslim manual. Okay, so in that we have basically all those things linked for you, and then if we update them, the manual will also get updated. So before we do that, I just want to basically discuss some common obstacles, and then we'll basically agree on next steps and show you the manual. Okay, so some of the common obstacles. Okay, so we want to discuss them with new Muslim, and this is something that you may do in the first meeting, or you may just keep it in the back of your head, back of your mind, and then when the need comes in, you can actually discuss them, because you want to empower them, right? So one first thing is look, you are embracing Islam. It does not mean that you have to justify actions of every Muslim throughout the globe. So sometimes you may see media saying, oh, Muslims did that, or Saudi Arabia did this, or UAE did this, or Egypt did this. Now, you don't necessarily have to defend their actions. Okay, yes, we are all brothers and sisters in faith, but you don't have to defend their actions. There's so much going on. You don't have to overburden yourself. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of different things going on. You don't necessarily have to agree with all the Muslims and all their actions and so on and so forth. Okay, we can disagree with each other. You have embraced Islam. Yes, Muslims, within Muslims, there are dishonest people. Within Muslim, there are people who cheat or lie, or they do not fulfill their promises. These are their shortcomings. They do believe in Allah. They do pray 5 times a day, but just like anybody else, they may have social issues, or they may have issues with their manners, or they may have issues with their integrity. So it's just something to be aware of. Now, what may happen is, again, so it goes 2 ways, right? So we do empower the Muslim community not to bother the converts, not to pinpoint or pick up on their small mistakes and things like that. At the same time, we empower the converts that, look, you may be doing something and someone else may see you and may think that you're doing wrong. So either the person just doesn't know, he follows one way and you have been taught a different way, or he's right, you're doing something wrong, and he just, out of his care and love, he may come to you and tell you to do something or not do something. So don't feel that you're being judged. He's doing that because of caring for you. Just like, let's say, if you're new to the gym and you're doing something wrong, someone may come and say, hey, you know what, perhaps if you do it this way, it may be better. Now, the person who's advising you may have good manners or may not have good manners. So in that case, remember first and foremost that the mosque, the masjid, belongs to everyone. Just because you are new doesn't mean that you have any less rights. So come, use it, make it your own place. And if you think someone is bothering you, just let them know that, thank you for your concern, brother. Thank you for your concern, sister. I'm new. I'm working on it. I'm going to move at my own pace. And I have a mentor, and so on and so forth. Just let them know. Okay. So don't think that, just because you're dressed differently or you're new, or you don't look like them, you have full rights, and you come and you benefit from the service, just like a hospital is for everyone, right? So you go to a hospital, right, and you see a lot of people from a different ethnic background. You wouldn't say that, okay, you know what, I'm not going to take advantage of the hospital. You would. So you just similarly remember that no one owns the masjid. Okay. Sometime what also happens is, they want to please everyone, right? Or a convert may have said, okay, you know what, guys, we should all focus on feeding the homeless. Well, that's a great thing. You may have some Muslims that may join your effort, but that doesn't mean that every Muslim is going to join your effort, right? Or you may be very excited about political change. You may have some Muslims that may join that cause, but not everyone. So remember that as well. Okay. And then thirdly, don't get overwhelmed. Take things step by step. If you learn something, work with your mentor, prioritize things. Some people just go on the internet, they're reading things from here and there, and then they want answers, but you don't even have time. The mentor may not even have time, or you may not have even time, right? So instead of you gradually progressing, let's say, right, and then let's say you're learning about science or medicine. So you learn the concepts first and the details and so on and so forth, and then you look at it, right? So you're just learning, let's say, grade 9 medicine or biology, and then you're looking at arguments from scholars at a university level or postdoctorate level. Right now, how is your coach or mentor going to help you understand those arguments while you don't even have the tools? Or maybe your coach may not even be worried about those arguments because now you're going at a very fast pace, right? So you want to make sure that you don't want to get overwhelmed with what you're doing as well. Okay. Another thing that happens is that, someone will say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to do everything or nothing. So because I cannot pray 5 times a day, because I cannot quit alcohol, because I cannot quit my, boyfriend or girlfriend, I'm not going to pray. Well, that's not how it works, right? I mean, we talked about the example of, changing yourself physically or changing your business or career. You don't say, okay, I'm going to do everything or nothing, right? There's certain things that are most important, right? As they say, for example, 70 or 80% is about your diet and 20% is your exercise, for example, right? So something is more important than the other. Similarly, in Islam, things are more important than the other. And, take gradual steps. As we said, one prayer is better than nothing, right? Okay. Sometimes they get discouraged because they're like, oh, I'm not pronouncing it properly. Well, look, your prayer may get you more closer and may get more rewarded than an Arab, right? Whose pronunciation is great, but his focus is not there. His heart is not there. So it's more about your focus and your heart than about the pronunciation, which is important. But as long as you're putting in your effort, there's no one saying that you are not getting reward comparable to someone whose pronunciation is great. Okay, so we talked about being overwhelmed and lack of prioritization. Other is basically you want them to be, encourage them to be honest with you and to be authentic with you. Because sometimes, for example, as we discussed earlier, they may be going all over the internet. They may come up with you and say, hey, you know what, brother, I want to know about Shia or difference in sex. And you say, brother, that's fine. We'll get there. Let's follow the curriculum. Let's follow step by step. Don't just say it and then leave it. Make sure that are they agreeing with you, right? Because they may say, no, you know what, it's very important. I'm still going to go on the internet and learn. So you may want to give them some resources, right? So that so it's kind of like, making sure that they're honest with you. They just don't like, sometimes they want to do something. Okay. You want to have a discussion with them that, look, you can do this, but these are the pros and cons of doing this approach. I recommend a different approach. Okay, then ask them, does that sound good, or do you want to think about it? Because if they just shut down and they go ahead and they do it anyways, they just hide it from you, they can be more in danger, right? So you want them to be open with you. If they ask you something you don't know about, ask in your network, ask with us, right? That's why we have this mentoring community, so we can support each other. Ask with other people of knowledge in your community, especially if it's a medical or mental health related issue or work related issue. Make the connection. You don't have to know everything, you don't have to do everything. You can help them find the connection or empower them to find the right person. Okay, and make sure that you're always suggesting, look, I suggest we do this, these are the pros and cons, I suggest we do this. And then keep maybe check in next week. Did your suggestion help? What did they choose? Did they take your suggestion, they found something else or whatever, right? So you want to check in. Okay, so these are some of the common issues to be aware of, and then you want to basically agree on next steps. Okay, so here are some video recordings of me having first meetings with converts, so you can take a look at it as examples. Okay, here are some text on first engagement, like some of the things that you want to cover and so on and so forth, and you want to have your own thing. Okay, now this is something that I wanted to show you. This is our training manual. Okay, let me pull that up here. So basically, again, this is something that you may be seeing in video right now or in the recording, and it may get changed over time. And that's fine. I just want you to be aware of this resource. And if we change it, then you will have, updated manual. So basically here is where we document all the training as well as, the resources. So we'll give you the resources for teaching them Salah. So these are training. Okay. So after the training is our manual convocation program, right? So sample text message to book your first call, welcome email, again, as we said, focusing on motivation. So if you go there are YouTube channels, there is books, we may come up with a hadith book that you can use to motivate them, to teach them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As you can see that we have some series. So this series, contribute to learning as well as motivation. So for example, 6 pillars of faith, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does Allah love, life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a summary I made with, the famous book Disease and the Cure by Ibn Qayyim, right? The beginning and end of the universe, about the angels, dua. So these are different series. Depending on the interest of the person, you can start a series with them. And this would be the Islamic motivational content in their life. And maybe, later on you might find something else. Again, goals and habits. So here you will see basically, about atomic habits and other things. And maybe as we find new things, we'll keep adding there. In terms of basically other resources, advanced learning. So if they're advanced, if they're, growing fast, then you want to have other things that they can get into, like learning Quran, getting into advanced courses. And then we have extended training on like, personal development and things like that. Now within here, basically, if you want to teach them the foundations, so he would also see about basically how to teach them the Salah. So there you would basically see all the apps that are listed there. Let me just show you quickly. So you can use these links to, to navigate in the document, okay? So again, these are some of the channels that we recommend people to subscribe to and so on and so forth, just keep that motivated. Okay, so now this is teach them the technical aspects of Salah using a PDF and details and videos and app. All this is mentioned here. So this is up-to-date document based on today. If things change, obviously we'll keep getting updated. Okay, let's go back to the slide. Just wrapping up in 2 minutes. Okay, so as I said, so basically, yeah, that's about it. So inshallah, I'll see you next week. And then again, I'm going to be around. So if you have any questions, we can discuss that as well. So until next time, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Jazakumullah khair.